I'm going to copy this into a document that has got a white background, and then I will be illuminated by my other laptop. There we go. Technology. Here we go. All right, hey, Matrix Live. Ben here, and I'm here with Half-Shot.
Hi.
Hey,
Who does bridges?
you do bridges. You do. I mean, you live a full life. But yeah, for us, you do bridges. That's the main value you bring to me.
Yes.
And what's been happening? It's been E2E.
It's been E2BE, as we call it, which is enter bridge encryption.
E2B. I've never heard that phrase,
Yes.
but I like it.
We tried to say that to distinguish end-to-end and inter-bridge in the sense that you're not sending it directly to someone's Slack device for obvious reasons. But yeah, I guess the big progress on the bridge side is that we're trying to formalize encryption in bridges as a natural thing, as opposed to a sort of hacky thing we talk about, sometimes come across in like FOSDEM will say, oh, it's the future. And we're trying to make this a natural thing. So we've got support for Matrix Service Bridge, has got support for encryption
Okay.
as a full-time thing. So for people who actually want to run this thing, they want to basically port their bridge to encrypted, stuff. They just add a few options into their configuration that suddenly starts working.
And
As long as
how
you
is...
stick a pantalignment.
Okay, sorry. And you do need pantalignment.
You do need pantalignment for currently, but this is like really short-term stuff. We're thinking within next month you won't need pantalignment at all.
Right, okay.
So
And
yeah,
this is
it's
based on...
incremental.
Okay, and Matrix App Service Bridge is a JavaScript library, right?
Yeah, it's a JavaScript library we use for our core bridges. So that's the old Gitter bridge, as well as the new one, actually. The IRC bridge and the Slack bridge, as well as a few other community bridges. So it's sort of the layer underneath the bridge network logic, if you want to say it that way. So you have the base core library with all the like components, so storage, configuration, reading and writing, matrix communication, and also encryption. And on top of that, you would implement your Discord stuff, your Slack stuff, and things like that. And that's also, in fact, it's also Bifrost is also on top of this technology, so it's actually pretty versatile.
And where will the E2E new feature be added there? Will it come from Matrix.js SDK?
So in the future we'll use Matrix.js SDK because it's obviously fairly well tested. It's used for lots of things, and the eventual plan is that the library will receive transactions on Synapse containing device messages and device list updates, as Sync does today. And then the JS SDK will interpret that into however it does and then start decrypting messages.
Okay.
The way it currently works in the bridge is that we sync you through pantalignment using the JS SDK. And because that logic is basically following the same thing a client would do, it all just works. But the eventual plan is to basically cut pantalignment out as a long-term goal, because there's no point having an interpreter for encryption if encryption is natively supported in the bridge.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
And since we basically bundle JS SDK into every Matrix App Service bridge, there's no reason to add an extra dependency. But that said, pantalignment's super reliable, so it's been a good base for us to start with.
Okay, all right, no, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so what this will mean is that somebody writing a new bridge or any application service can get out of the box encryption support in the same way they do, when they use JS SDK to make a new client or bot. Is that right?
Exactly right. In fact, you don't even need to do any. All you really need to do is give it a place to store sessions and things like that, which you just basically implement a bit of extra logic. Say, here, store my session, this file or something. But it's basically a very tiny interface.
Cool. All right, I feel like I have big uses for this. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, I'd say it take a developer about an hour to put the extra work in to make their bridge end-to-end compatible, which is seriously cool, right? I mean, you could have your Discord bridge or your Skype bridge or whatever suddenly be encryption overnight, which is a pretty cool thing.
All right, so tell me about the... So I don't fully understand. Explain to me why you're currently using Sync as an endpoint, but that's not the long-term goal. Can you just talk through that in general?
Absolutely. Go back a few months' time, we didn't have any support for ephemeral events going through to bridges. There was no way to say who is typing, who is sending presents, who is sending me a read receipt, or indeed who is sending me a device message. Because at the matrix level, all these things are called ephemeral events.
Okay.
And the only way to get those was using the Sync API. So this means clients can obviously get this information, but bridges couldn't. Up until I think a few days ago when Synapse got their latest release out, bridges can now receive, bridges can now receive presence, typing, and read receipts, which is cool. That's been a feature we want. In itself, it's a good feature to have the ability to see those things on your bridge. But the next step is then start sending device messages and device list updates and things like that. So there's no longer any need for sync. But I guess the best way to say sync is sort of like a stopgap solution to get that information while the API doesn't support it.
Okay.
But we're rapidly trying to achieve support.
And why are you attempting to obsolete sync? Sync's like, I thought it was bread and butter for Matrix.
Yes. For clients, it's brilliant. When you are roaming around the countryside and you need to be able to get quick, reliable messages to your phone, you need to be able to poll something, right? But your bridge is sitting in a data center somewhere. It's not going anywhere. And the IP address of it, it's not changing. So you could just push messages to your bridge. Okay. And it's a more efficient method for the home server to send messages to your bridge than for your bridge to keep asking the home server, please send me more, please send me more, please send me more in a loop, which is how Matrix clients actually work.
But what if, a bot, the thing is, existing bots generally already work that way. They basically pretend to be clients, a lot of them.
Yeah, and sure, if you haven't got much traffic, that's a fine solution. But a good example of this example is Riotbot, which used to be using, I believe, the sync API, and eventually got to the point where it was synchronizing so much that it just couldn't keep up with the traffic. And we had to do a quick fix to move it to the AS API, because the AS API allows you to do higher volume level of traffic. Okay. Certainly, for example, the Freenode bridge, if you had to sync, you'd have to sync, 30,000 rooms, something like that for each user.
Right, yeah.
Which you quickly hit overheads.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to understand what the trade-offs are. All right, cool. So will sync ever be supported for the for end-to-end for the AS API?
Sync?
Yeah.
Sync will, of course, you can continue to use it, but we're going to try and move people away to the AS API simply because it's just a more efficient method of doing it. It's just a much faster method. Because another thing to consider is that the AS API uses one stream for every single user in that bridge, whereas the sync API is per user. So if you have 20,000 users on your bridge, that's 20,000 syncs potentially. Whereas it's one transaction stream for those 20,000 users in the AS API.
All right. Okay.
So there's a lot of benefits to using this new system if we can.
Okay. All right. And we're looking at what sort of timeline for this?
I don't want to commit myself to anything firm because I've not.
You have to now.
Obviously, Matrix is the best place to talk about his deadlines and those sort of things. But we think probably about a month at worst case. So we've done the initial work to do ephemeral events, thanks to Sorinomi for an excellent MSC, which we've been following. But we're now going to go a step further and try to implement device messaging through Synapse onto app services as well.
Okay.
And that's totally a possible thing. It just needs a bit more work.
What do you know the number of the MSC? We'll put it in the description.
2409, I believe.
2409. All right. Cool. We'll add that to the description. Sorry, reading. So what is available in 1.22? Just EDU support.
Just typing, presence, and read receipts.
Okay.
So anytime a user sends presence, typing or read receipts basically through Synapse, so through Federation or otherwise, it will end up on the bridge as long as the bridge user is in the room with them, which is super handy. Because of course I think bridges were actually using sync just to get this information as well. I think Chile's bridge. Just the ability to send presence both ways on Telegram, or not presence, sorry, typing. He had to sync with those users. And obviously that was quite expensive.
Yeah.
So actually, a really nice thing is I think pretty much within the same day that I added the experimental change to Synapse, Chile added support for this stuff in his bridge, the same day. And so now my Telegram bridge runs basically the experimental 2409 stuff to do presence and typing and read receipts. It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, that is cool. And that's going to be... last week we talked to Travis running T2Bot. Is this not having a massive impact on his load?
Luckily, he's not enabled support for this yet. In fact, I think he believes he even filters out most EDUs from his home server to avoid catastrophic damage to his CPU.
Jesus.
But for I think anyone running their own bridge, this could be something they could just enable. Obviously, taking care to examine your traffic perhaps before you do so. So if you are running, a tiny home server with lots of users, perhaps do not enable this feature just yet. If you're on knife's edge. But for me, it's brilliant. So certainly saves a lot of headaches with syncing.
So the next question is, it requires people to know what is to device. What does it mean, to device messages?
So in Matrix, you have a concept of devices. When you log in, you create a new device for your client, for example. If you log into your phone, you'll have a second device. Same account, but two devices, right? They both have a device ID. And then sometimes you might click a button on your devices, get me my message keys from my other device. I'm sure you've all seen that prompt when it says, you can't read this message, please get messages from your device. What this actually does, it sends out a two-device message from one device to the other device saying, please give me messages.
Okay.
And this is not only used for just that use case, but also for general encryption bits. So, aligning on what keys to be using and things like that, and verification requests and so on and so forth. The bridge needs to be able to support these to do encryption. And so we need to support sending these to the bridge so it can respond to them and so on, if that makes some sense.
Yeah, it does. Cool. So this and the next stage for the AS API is to support those messages.
Absolutely, yeah, because it's pretty much one of the very last things that the sync API needs to the AS API needs to support to have basically parity with the sync API.
Okay.
So we're very, very close to having bridges be as good as the sync API. The only reason this stuff's sort of been pushed back in the past is because there wasn't much of a need 3 or 4 years ago for this information, because e2e was still fairly new. But nowadays there are a lot of bridges out there that want to really achieve one-to-one functionality with the native platform. And so all these events are quite important. I wanted to quickly call out Bifrost. That's all right. Just to talk about progress of that. We've hit a 0.2 RC period. We're hoping to get 0.2 out fairly soon. I just want to call out particularly because it's one of those protocols which is open. XMPP is an open protocol. And there's lots of parallels between Matrix and XMPP. So one thing we'd like to try and do with that bridge is really get an absolute native feeling on both sides. So that's, typing both way, presence both way, read receipts both directions, all those things would be really cool. And we're very, very close to having that. So this MSC is very much nearly getting us to a native feeling and absolutely on both sides of the bridge, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds awesome. Cool. So what are the features of the RC?
So it's a ton of bug fixes around the gateway feature. For those that don't know, the gateway feature is the ability for an XMPP user to join any matrix room. So this is any matrix room with an alias you can just join from your XMPP client, which means basically we can really align those two communities. That feature was basically experimental in 1.08 or 0.1.8. And then 1.2 is basically going to fix up those bugs, improve things like edit support and typing support and lots of little things, and really, bring us up to speed, I think. It's going pretty well, so,
Are edits, because I don't know enough about XMPP, are edits part of the core spec, or are they an add-on? No.
Yeah, so everything in XMPP is sort of an add-on in a way, in the sense that there's lots of things which are sort of extensions.
Okay.
I'm sure someone will correct me on this, but as far as I understand it, quite a lot of things in the spec are extensions. But one of the most commonly supported extension is message corrections.
Right.
Which means that you can edit your last sent message for XMPP. Now,
Only
someone listening very closely. Yeah. So this is the thing. Technically speaking, some clients don't allow you to edit messages before, but not all will. But in the spec, at least it says you can only edit the last message. So different clients may respond differently to how this works. So for Matrix, what we do is if you edit a message on Matrix, we'll send this message correction to XMPP, and then hopefully the client will do the right thing. If it doesn't, it will present a fallback, we hope. But as I said, this is XMPP, so you do the best you can, and you hope it does the right thing.
I mean, devil's advocate, what's the logic for it being limited to n-1?
That's not something I could comment on. That's a matter for the.
Okay, all right, fine. I mean, I don't see an answer there, but.
I imagine it's so you couldn't correct your comments in an argument you're having with somebody, so you couldn't edit a message 5 messages above and say, "Hey, I didn't say this."
I mean, okay, but history exists.
Yeah, history does exist. So I mean, a lot of clients don't actually follow this logic rigidly, as far as I'm aware.
All right,
but some do. this is one of the many mysteries of the XMPP spec.
Okay, I mean, I don't want to get into we haven't got anybody here to defend it, so I don't want to get into an attack.
No, for all I can say is it is very well documented, and also the shout out to George A and the XMPP community for helping me fix every single bug and give me XML logs and all this stuff to get the Bifrost bridge going, because genuinely there's a lot of stuff that I need answers for that aren't just
George has been
found
really
at face value.
That's cool. All right, so great. So there's been big progress on encrypted bridges, which is a low-level component on Bifrost, primarily for XMPP. What's going on with IRC? I feel like I've been seeing PRs fly around for that.
Yeah, we continue to do lots of maintenance and small features. There's some nice things like we now do a round-trip ping when we start up, which basically means if you are just starting out with your new bridge and it's not connecting, previously you probably go to me and say, hey, Half-Shot, why is this not working? It looks like it should work. Now there's actually some useful diagnostic information it does when it starts up to give you like a helping hand. There's lots of other nice things, sort of bug fix all over the place, representation of various events, like audio events got fixed. There's lots of like tiny little things we're just doing to sort of nudge the bridge in the right direction. I consider the IRC bridge a stable bridge, which we're doing our best to maintain, especially the GNOME guys coming in and stuff. I think it's very important.
Exciting.
I think we talked about that briefly, can't we?
Yeah, I mean, GNOME have got their server running, and they're also testing the IRC bridge. So yeah, I think it's fine.
So that's things happening as well. It's quite exciting.
And I wish them well. So the other thing is you're not as much working on Slack lately. Is that right?
We're doing the encryption stuff for it, so still a bit ticking along there. Kazir can also give some credibility to how much I'm doing on that, but he's actually been helping us test the latest releases on his home server.
Yes.
Which has helped us out a lot. But we're basically, for that one again, it's a 1.6 at this point, so it's stable, it works. There's lots of little like bugs and fixtures we're going through, but it works pretty damn well. So we're sort of just doing the encryption stuff and then seeing how it goes. I won't talk about GitterBridge because that's far too early to talk about at the moment. Sure. I'm sure there will be something coming along for that soon.
Yeah, we've got Eric will be involved in talk about that. I'm not gonna jump the gun on that. Cool. All right, but there's a lot going on. I mean, I don't think anybody doubted that.
I guess the one last thing to talk about is the Discord bridge, which I might have talked about for many years probably. So Discord have recently broken support for the old APIs of the Discord API.
Okay.
So we're rushing out a fix this evening to try and fix some bugs. Well, the bug that the API doesn't work anymore. We need to upgrade it rapidly.
Today?
So everyone who's today, yeah. Right. So they had a cutoff period for the 7th of November, but we've had some issues. Travis had some issues, especially where the bridge stopped working, and it's basically a Discord giving us like errors saying, hey, this doesn't work, stop doing this. So we're rapidly trying to fix this thing, get a 1.0 release out today to fix the bridge ASAP. So just sort of like a heads up, anyone running the Discord bridge, Matrix episodes Discord, that is, keep your eyes peeled for the latest release about to come out, because it will probably fix your woes you're currently experiencing.
Okay, we'll make sure to publicize that when it's available. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in that case, I think you better disconnect and get back to work. If I'd known that you were on an urgent fix-it mission, I might have moved our meeting, but okay.
It's in hand. We've got it all sorted, so it'll be fine.
All right. Thanks for your time, and thanks for the updates. Speak soon.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.